Thank you all for joining us again from OCRWC, the World Championships from here in Stratton in Vermont. We apologize for any technical difficulties, and if you missed the start of our show, but you have not yet missed the start of the race. Again, I'm David Magida along with Nicole Mericle. And Nicole, we get a chance to talk a little bit about this event, how things are going to shake out once again. So let's go into a deep dive on the 3K course one more time for those who are just joining us, and we'll give people the opportunity to see a little preview of what's coming. So Jason, if you could throw that map up on the screen for us.
Oh, get a little sight of Ryan Atkins there warming up.
Oh, that's the team relay. But similar views of what we got going on here. What you see sloping down right now, still a team relay.
Yeah.
Well, this course is 3K in distance, really what, 3,300 meters or so, give or take. And one big climb, this looks like it might be it, the 3K. One big climb, one big descent, and then a nasty little kicker just with the heavy carry at the end to mix things up. And I would say, what, 5 or 6 good rig-based obstacles out there today, Nicole?
Yes, it's very rig heavy. It's going to be very grip and pull-up intensive.
And so when we look at the race today and how things are going to shake out, I mean, we talked earlier about the idea of people going out hot, trying to get through that rig in the front, and then that big, huge climb, keeping the field relatively close together because it's only one good climb, where they'll climb, you know, somewhere in the realm of 150 meters. So that's like 500 feet of climbing for those who don't know the metric system. And then a really hard descent back down. I mean, do we expect that the ascent or the descent is going to shake things up the most? I tend to lean towards the descent is actually going to create the bigger spread.
I agree. I think that given the moisture, the rocky, grassy terrain, and the steepness of the descent, it's something that you can really see someone like a Ryan Atkins, a Lindsay open up on, and maybe put a little bit of space on their competitors.
It is such a difference, East Coast versus West Coast mountains, in terms of not just like, I find that a lot of the East Coast mountains tend to be kind of like steep and nasty, but you're right, like the wet ground is something that usually you have much more dry condition racing out in the West Coast. Not just dry air, but dry ground as well. And here, clearly it's damp. Clearly it's going to be a little slick. It's been raining a bit this week, but it is, you know, bright and beautiful out there today. And then wind. I mean, we could talk about it's just wind, but I mean, it's blowing hard today. Crosswinds could take a lot of energy out of people.
I've been out there and it feels very cold. I would also say it was raining this morning, and we've had how many racers already go through this course? So we expect that the grass will be packed down a little bit, the mud will be a little bit turned up, and so that all leads to a slightly more difficult descent, especially.
Yeah, and then, you know, of course, when it is a little slick on these big descents, what you tend to see is some people that are not as used to it, they tiptoe through it a little bit more cautiously, and then you have a guy like Ryan Atkins who, you know, lives in conditions like this, will be happy to bomb the descent on this. Some of those Western mountain folks, they may lose some of their advantage there as well. And also, I think it's important to note that altitude training and conditioning is very important when you're racing on the West Coast. If you're coming from sea level, you're at a massive disadvantage. But that advantage does not always equate back quite as well when you're racing on the East Coast.
Totally. I think it's also, it affects how you even pace a race, because when you're used to training and racing at altitude and you come out to the East Coast, it is somewhat counterintuitive to go out harder, because at altitude you pay for it, you know, tenfold in the end of the race if you go out too hard. But at sea level, you can actually recover much better. It doesn't actually become as big of a deal to go out a little too hard.
And of course, I think a lot of people are looking at this descent and saying, "Oh, what a great opportunity to recover after this big climb." But if you're counting on recovering on this descent on a 3K race, you're not really going to be in the mix anyways.
No, I would describe the feeling that they'll have at the bottom of the hill as if they did like probably 30 tuck jumps in a row.
Wow.
It's just like a lot of pounding on your quads. It's actually quite intense.
And then in terms of obstacles, what we have here, if we go through this list right here, again, there are some unfamiliar obstacle names for some of the folks at home. Pendulum, Stairway 3.0, we've mentioned earlier in the feed, is going to be one of those obstacles that maybe changes things a little bit. The Force 5 rig. And then, of course, for those who have not raced in OCRWC, maybe you don't know what a Valkyrie or a Skitch or a Triumph obstacle are. These are all things that many of these guys and women, they're coming into this race maybe a little blind. They've taken the time to look at these things, but maybe they have not tried them out yet. And hitting an obstacle with a heart rate of 165, 170, and you've never done it before, it could be a little sketchy.
Definitely. And that's why I think we do see a lot more pro men fail obstacles than we would see at other races, because we have higher technicality. We have the chance to take a little bit more chance or a little more risk when it comes into obstacles. So I remember at OCRWC 2019, I believe multiple men failed Skitch, for instance, which is an obstacle where you typically have to be in a locked off position. You are sliding down a bar with handholds, and you have to release one of those holds and move it to another bar. So because you have this lock off quality, you have to have your feet picked up so you don't touch the ground. There can be some mistakes made there if you have a high heart rate and if you can't quite hold that lock off as you move one implement to the next ring.
Absolutely. Now, Jason, if we could toss to camera 4 for a sec, I think we're looking at a shot of the start line of this race. Athletes are beginning to line up. It looks like we are going to take off at about that estimated 1:15 start time. So this is the anticipation is building. And again, if you've never done an OCR World Championship race, I mean, look at all these flags and this whole spectacle. It really is a truly international race. Donated obstacles from the participating race partners, athletes from truly everywhere in the world. And we're in for a treat. The 3K is a fast and furious and unpredictable event. Your defending champion is VJ Jones, but Ryan Atkins was not racing here last year. And we've seen them battle on some short courses before. VJ did one up Atkins at the Hildervat competition that I'm not supposed to talk about because I'm with you, Nicole. But do we? I'm sorry about that. But as we look at this men's field, this last chance before they take off, predictions 1, 2, 3. Who we got?
Oh man, that's a hard one. I don't know. I think VJ will be there. I think Atkins will be there, and I think Jesse. I think that Jesse to here. I think we'll see him up there.
Wow, and I think it's hard to say where Ryan Kempson's fitness is, but I think he's been rounding into form in the last couple months. So he is my pick to land there somewhere on the podium as my third. I think it's hard for me to ever bet against Ryan Atkins and VJ Jones in an event like this. But for the international community out there, forgive my ignorance. For those of you for those of your athletes who I am disrespecting right now, because I'm sure that they're going to be in for a big fight. And as we saw at the Spartan World Championships, the international athletes took it to our guys pretty good. So I expect to see a battle, a really good battle.
I do think that, to give Kempson some more credit, he is used to racing on the East Coast. This is where he lives and trains, and
Specifically Vermont,
is one
where
of
he was growing
specifically
up.
Vermont, yeah. And he has a very high obstacle proficiency.
He's
seen
not
him
just proficient.
overtake people.
He is efficient, as in he moves quickly, but he also wastes no energy. He's truly, he and VJ, I think, move the most fluidly through obstacles like what we're going to see today of the guys I normally see. Atkins, of course, is very strong at those obstacles, but I find that he's just at his level of fitness is part of what gets him through them so well.
Mm-hmm. I think that both VJ and Kempson, they make it their goal to do each obstacle as fast as possible too. So they're the ones that they're jumping out from the start of the obstacle. They're taking the chances. They're doing maybe like an unnecessary lache to just get that like half a second faster.
And if not to keep talking about Ryan Kempson, but one of the ways that I describe him as a good old friend and competitor of mine is fierce, in that he is as friendly as can be, but you say one thing that displeases him and he is all over you, because he is a ferocious guy and he competes that way. And so there are a few people who kind of leave it all out there the way that he does. And so you'll see that dead-eyed look in him where he's barely alive under that face. I'm so used to seeing it that this guy goes full 100% in every event. I'm looking forward to seeing him use that today. I haven't seen him race in a while.
I'm trying to
So
pick
again,
out
here's your starting
the
field.
racers right now. Kempson, Atkins, VJ. I see
Is that
Leon.
our favorite Dane? Leon Kofed.
That's him. He is still
Yeah, and Leon
recovering
also,
from his own injury, I believe.
And Leon, I think everyone would say if he was fully healthy, yeah, this guy's going to be in the mix. So good at obstacles. Strong runner. Not the strongest runner in the field, but strong enough, and an excellent fluid obstacle completer. And, one of the things
He's won
that
the
I would
European
never expect
Championships.
Yeah. I would never expect him to fail an obstacle. But look how he's geared up. He's got that windbreaker on right now, and you have to assume he's going to take it off right before the start. But look how comfortable
I think
Atkins
it's coming
is.
off.
Yeah, it's coming off. Atkins is that nonchalant pose, like he's leaning up against the bar. So comfortable. Mentally, I don't know
Rylan
a stronger
Shadegg
competitor.
over there.
Is that Shadegg in the blue?
Mm-hmm. He's got
Shadegg,
a blue USA
way.
jersey on. Shadegg.
Shadegg.
Is that right? Okay.
Yes. I learned the hard way. And we just saw Shadegg break the world record in the Deca Fit 5K. So we know he has both the ability to climb mountains, but also go hard, go fast, and maintain an incredibly high heart rate. And so, and continue to have decent strength output. So that should actually translate very well to this. He beat VJ Jones in that event by about a minute and a half. Minute 25.
In the Deca Fit.
In the Deca Fit. Yeah. Yeah, VJ is the first to tell you, well,
I think
that's
Jesse
not my specialty.
I think Jesse DeHere is going to be in one of those orange jerseys. I think he's on the right side, right behind VJ.
Mm-hmm. So we have Jesse DeHere, we have Kempson, we have Atkins, Leon Kofed, and the others will make themselves known. I think we mentioned earlier Jesse Bruce as well.
Jesse Bruce, Sean Roberts.
And I'm
We also
looking
have
at our start
Thomas
list right now.
Van Tonder, the Red Bull athlete.
Red Bull as in Red Bull mountain running?
Red Bull energy drink. Thomas Van Tonder, I believe he's from South Africa. And he won the 100 meter, he was a 100 meter world champion in 2019.
And that's Jarrett Newby as well. Jarrett Newby is was he not second at the Go Ruck Games?
Oh, that's great. Yep, that's correct.
So we have an array of athletes, and Newby's been strong in the Savage circuit as well. So he's been kind of hanging around contention in a bunch of those races. So we have a very deep field, and honestly, I'm going to have a lot of trouble predicting how this thing's going to shake out. I'm just excited to see this battle.
You don't have a solid prediction?
I would say my prediction is I'm going to say VJ 1, Kempson 2, Atkins 3.
I think that's a solid pick.
You know, the beauty of these predictions is that we lose nothing if we get them wrong. There's no money on the line here for us. Talking about prize purses, because we haven't done that yet today. Nicole, do you know what these athletes are competing for in this race right now?
I don't believe it's been announced yet.
I know that I have not heard, but
you know, first, second, and third receives prize money.
We've got some intros coming. Ryan Kempson right now. In the past, do you have any idea? Do you recall what the payouts were for this event?
In the past, it's been about 8,000 for the win and 4,000 for second, I think, 1,000 for third, something like that.
Every place counts, clearly.
Yeah.
Mr. Ryan Atkins has just been announced as well. So again, when this race takes off, there'll be a couple walls and a small crawl early on. And then athletes essentially are going to cut across what looks like a golf course. And then we hit the real obstacles. Pendulum, Stairway 3.0, Course 5 rig,
yeah, I believe
and then
it's
up the mountain.
I believe it's like 200 to 300 meters into the race. You have Pendulum, which is a rig-like obstacle with a couple rings to a bar. Something that Kempson overtook Logan on in the 15K last year. And then we have, immediately after that, we have Stairway, which is another one that's very grip, very pull-up intensive. It has new elements, and so there's always a chance that it messes somebody up. Could be a surprise. And then immediately after that, we have the Force 5 rig. So 3 very grip-intensive obstacles all in a row before you head up the mountain.
That man you just saw go across the screen right now is Adrian Bignata, who is the brain behind OCR World Championships. So big thanks to him for putting this on for years. And we remember just talking to him and when it was before its infancy, in just planning phases for this. And look what it's grown into. We have the men's clock up at the top, and that means...
I don't know about you, but I feel a little nervous for them.
Well, they've been waiting for like an extra hour, so Like having to warm up all that extra time, it can be like a little stressful. Like you start so calm, and then you're waiting and waiting and waiting. Now Atkins is starting to bounce. There's Shadeg right in front of him, and they're lining up.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Ladies and gentlemen, always has kicked off.
All right, so VJ Jones is there in the front. The blue to the side of him, that's going to be Ryan Kempson, Ryan Atkins shirtless. And then behind them, wow, you go right into these 4-foot walls.
We've got Sean,
That's,
we have Jesse.
Jesse.
And then Rylan
Shadeg
on
right there in the USA jersey.
So
And these
Leon,
are my
or
1, 2,
not
3
Leon, sorry.
predictions in order. What was that?
Yep. I called VJ Leon. So VJ and Kempson are kind of setting the pace right here and making a little bit of a gap early on.
This is an aggressive start given that you have that big climb looming. And Atkins, in very like Ryan Atkins fashion, he likes to get into a position that he's comfortable, but he tends to not just blast the opening mile of a race. Like he lets the race come to him, and he always waits for his moment.
I believe he's exactly where he wants to be at this point right now.
Absolutely.
You can see them,
but
I'm sure he's running comfortably.
Absolutely. And Shadeg, I'd like to point out the difference between what's happening here today and how he ran in Utah, which was that he and Hawk went straight to the front in the Utah Spartan race recently. This is, I think for him, you know, he's dabbling in so many different things, so many different events. He's learning as he's going, and he lost some time there.
Well, you can just see right here. Yeah, I don't think he's running super confidently, with good reason, because this is a new race for him. I think he's not counting himself out by any means, but he's sitting back. He's watching how they're going to do each obstacle and try to figure it out on his own.
And that's smart. And you can see like VJ Jones and Kempson are just lightning through there. And that is to be expected. And it is the smart move to observe and not try and lead this thing. And I think Shadeg just wants to be in the mix with, you know, half a mile left in this race and then just see how things shake out. Ryan Atkins exactly where he wants to be. And look at the climbing of Shadeg. He immediately pulls away from Jesse.
So I think that the second men's heat just started.
I think you're right. I'm recognizing some faces, some Canadian faces.
So the
they're
question
separating
is,
these
are any
races
of
by
these
about
guys
2.5
going
minutes.
to? So are any of these guys going
mix.
to be able to catch the first heat? Yeah, or be their time.
You know, you'd presume they'll catch some of the athletes. I don't know that they'll be able to catch your leaders. And VJ now has just put a small little gap on Ryan Kempson before the big climb. Atkins is through.
I don't know if you can see very well, but the wheel there is actually a little bit low, and I think the men have to pick up their legs considerably to not scrape the ground there. It looks like everybody made it through just fine.
Look at Shadeg's climbing, though. Look how he just went right by. Again, he's going to pull right up even with Atkins in a moment.
And he may lay the hammer down here. This may be his chance to really push on the climb. This is something that, you know, he's seen his hills before. He's confident in this regard. So maybe this is
if I'm Shadeg, that's exactly what I'm doing, which is I know that I'm not going to be as quick through the obstacles as some of these other racers. I have to do my damage on this ascent and the descent that follows. And now you're getting a look at the second heat right now. As athletes just made it through Pendulum and they're headed to Stairway 3.0. And you just saw Atkins and Jones and Shadeg and Kempson, amongst others, just completing the Force 5 rig.
We have a little bit of a battle here between these two guys in the second heat. They seem to be very obstacle proficient, just flying through that stairway obstacle.
And climbing well. And if we could cut back to the first wave. Oh. And you can see the difference in techniques. Some people are choosing to jog this, run this, small steps up on their toes. Really tough on the calves to do that. You tend to be that kind of racer, and then some are power hiking it. You're used to those small strides, constant power. You're like a little locomotive. Some tend to look for those more powerful power hike steps because it enables you to maybe be more energy efficient at that speed. Some people are not affected by climbing at a running, essentially a running effort. Look at VJ Jones right now, looking very smooth. But Shadeg
The athlete
is closing
in
on
the
him.
second heat, yes, the athlete that we've seen quite a lot of footage from in the second heat is Samuel Hebert. He's a Canadian athlete, and he's been on a championship men's team before. So I think it's someone who it's possible could be up there in the top 10 men.
He's climbing incredibly well right now from the footage that we have seen. But right now we are getting a look at obstacles at the bottom of the course. So we'll jump to the... Oh, here we go. Never mind. There's VJ Jones. And so Shadeg has moved all the way into second position. What a climb.
So there's VJ coming off of the over-under.
And we're almost 7 minutes into this race, and we're going to keep going up, I believe, from here.
So Lagath is an obstacle that can be surprisingly tricky. I wouldn't say it's muscularly that taxing, but sometimes you can get stuck and have a hard time getting those bars to rotate over. It's one of those things that can be really frustrating in a race if you can't do it.
Yeah.
But they seem to be
taking a look. We're trying to locate Ryan Kempson right now. As I've seen your other leaders come through, but not Kempson.
Sean Roberts. There's Jesse. That's Jesse coming off. Sean Roberts on the obstacle right now. And then I don't know who that is right behind him. So we think that Kempson went ahead and made it through.
That's the safe assumption right now, as you're looking now at wave 2 and wave 3 out on the steep ascent. And if we cut to, there we go.
So they're making their way down to Twist of Life.
So that was Lagath that you're looking at right here. And so essentially these pillars are shifting. You have to force it to shift in order to be able to reach your next grip or hold.
So there's a couple things you have to be able to do. You have to be able to get your body onto the other side of the pole or the wood. And then you have to pull with enough momentum to get it to shift backwards. And then you grab the next pole or wood beam.
And there isn't a great
you do have
place
little
to put your feet.
So on those wood posts, you have little hockey pucks that you put your feet on, but the poles typically don't have anything on them for your feet.
And we're seeing excellent turnover and running out of a lot of these athletes right now. So the field is incredibly deep. And again, like if you're tuning in you're just starting to watch this and you're wondering why this race is so spread out, they're starting approximately 10 athletes every 2.5 minutes. And so we're getting races with battles throughout this entire day. But the primary battle that we're expecting to see our winners come out of is that opening heat.
So this is heat 2, and Samuel just got passed. We don't know. I don't know who that athlete is.
He was running very strong.
Sure.
And we are looking and trying to locate our leaders from heat 1 right now. There's Jesse Bruce.
There's Jesse Bruce.
Now, I think a Jesse Bruce is going to be slightly more competitive on the 15K. He did have an Ironman recently this year. He's just got an incredible engine. But this race typically is won by the really, really swift guys.
I guess we don't have eyes on the top men right now, but they should be making their way down the hill. And we should be seeing them again at Valkyrie.
Now look at this terrain before we cut away from this, because this is a really good example of East Coast mountain running. How rocky it is, but like under that, it's damp, it's slick. It's rough on the feet. If you don't have a good rock plate in your shoe, this is a pretty nasty descent to hit. And you could see it's a little damp as well.
Yeah, those rocks aren't necessarily going to stay in place. Totally.
No, they are not. And so with crumbling ground around you, like it is easy to roll an ankle or take a digger. This is, again, it's going to take kind of like a gutsy effort. Like you have to be willing to take risks on a race this short. And we're now 12 minutes in for the opening heat. So this is a big deal. And I think if we cut to camera 4, is this the start of the women? There is your women's field right now. So again, quick recap: Lindsay Webster, we got Ulrike, Annie Doobie,
Ulrika, yep.
Oh, yeah.
Rose Wetzel. We have Ida in there. And
Tiffany
Chris
Palmer.
Rogowski.
And Chris Rogowski, who is doing everything these days, by the way. Up. Looks like we've got a men's battle right here. VJ Jones.
Coming down into Valkyrie, another very upper body intensive obstacle. We're going to have to ascend on rings. Back down and touch the bell.
So this is your men's leader on the course. That's VJ Jones, but he's followed very closely by what looks like Ryan Kempson. And then that's Atkins and I believe Shadeg as well. So Ryan Shadeg is the real deal, guys.
It's very impressive that he's doing this well on obstacles that are brand new to him.
Completely brand new.
And was that?
And it was a failure right now from VJ Jones. And a failure out of...
No, I guess he...
No, they were completions. Excuse me.
No.
So
okay.
Two completions by VJ Jones and Ryan Kempson, and they just returned the rungs that they were using.
I think they just reached out so far from the bell and hit it that it looked like it.
These two were separated by
Kempson.
about 25 or 30 seconds last year. It was about 25, 30 seconds between the two of them. This year, it's more like 5 seconds. This is either man's race right now, and it is shaking out the way I was expecting it to, but this is going to be exciting for the finish.
We have the two most obstacle proficient racers very close together with about half a race to go.
And the two biggest engine racers, I would say, right behind him.
Yes, totally.
And so this is the big climb.
So they already
right
made
now.
it through
VJ's got a little
drop zone.
lead. Now, what do you think those things weigh?
I actually have no idea. I think
Now,
they are
I imagine
denser
they're
than
a
they
lot
look.
heavier than they look. Yeah,
Yeah.
we had the same thought. They're dense, whatever they are. And Atkins looks great right now. I think Shadeg's going to move fast with this thing as well. He's a firefighter, never forget. So this is the kind of thing he is very used to, moving with weight. And as good as Atkins is climbing, Shadeg is outdistancing him significantly right now.
It does look like he's reeling him in right now. So again, this
VJ's
is another
already on
descent
the
that we
descent.
have that you have to just go for. It doesn't matter that it's grassy and wet and muddy and slippery. There's no other option but to sprint down with this weight in your hand.
VJ Jones is very underrated as a descender with weight. It's how he beat Atkins in Big Bear. Is he climbed with a bucket and descended with it much faster than Atkins did. And if we jump right now to the preview, our women's race is off and going. So women are underway. Men aren't even done yet. Things are about to get exciting. That's
So we've seen in
Rogowski
past races
on the
that
outside.
Chris Rogowski has taken it out pretty fast, and so has Ida. So not surprisingly, we have those two in the lead, followed by Lindsay Webster, Rose Wetzel.
There's a lot happening, so we apologize as we jump our camera angles back and forth, but Atkins has retaken Shadeg again in this battle for third place. Shadeg looks very strong, though, right now. My concern for him, of course, is he is working much harder than the other guys he's competing with on each of these obstacles.
They're coming into the last two obstacles now.
Now, this is
with
VJ Jones
lead,
just a hair ahead of
catch
Kempson. It's going to be very hard to catch him right now, as Jones is through Ricochet right now with one obstacle to go, and Kempson right on his heels. No mistakes.
The
is what
one
he's
obstacle
thinking.
left is cargo climb, which can be a surprisingly hard one to get through quickly. So if you get hung up there, if your foot gets caught, then it could be possible to lose a little bit of time.
And look at this battle right now with Rylan Shadeg just trying to hang on to Ryan Atkins, who's trying to break free.
I'm surprised that they're surprisingly far back from the others. Oh, no.
These gaps have formed.
I think there is a delay. Yeah, okay. I was like, this doesn't look great.
There is.
Sorry, they're on Ricochet.
Shadeg is probably only about 10 to 12 seconds behind Atkins, even after this obstacle. Maybe a little bit more. He lost a little time there, but he's through it. And there's Jesse DeHuer. He's been, and Sean Roberts. So they're in the mix.
So the women are to the stairway obstacle. We have Chris Sokolowski and Ida still in the lead. Both very strong obstacle. They're very, very proficient at obstacles, very strong. They have a lot of different obstacle races under their belt, besides just standard ones that we see in the U.S. But Ida makes it through much faster. And Chris
experience of Ida
seems a little bit hung up.
And we're trying to catch.
We also know
that
Ida's been focused a little bit more on her running lately, and so someone who hasn't really been known as one of the stronger runners in the field. It'll be interesting to see if this has become a stronger part of her game.
And we're looking to see if we can get eyes on the finish area right now, so we can see the end of the men's race. I see Ryan Atkins closing in on the finish line right now. And we don't know how far behind or how close Shadeg is, but this is the final finish for Ryan Atkins. Last obstacle. That's a camera delay. Now, if you want to see it.
I think we'll go back to the women's. Yeah, so Ida's through the Force 5 rig, and now she's making her way up the hill. We don't see anyone near her. I think it's possible that
she's
some of the
having an
women have
incredible
gotten
start.
stuck at stairway. But it's also possible that someone like Lindsay or Annie or Rika, even if they take longer on something like stairway, they might be able to catch her on this hill.
Yeah, she looks very good at this point climbing, but you know, it's just so hard to tell without seeing the other athletes in that shot.
Maybe if we can get the camera
Look
to
down.
pan back a little bit. There
There's
we go.
Chris. Yeah,
I think
there's
that
Chris
we
right
have
there.
Chris. Seems like a lot of the women are right there.
You know, this race is by no means over, I would say that.
Definitely not, especially in something like 3K OCRWC race. There are just so many things that can happen. You can have someone fall apart at the end. An obstacle can really cause someone to get hung up. And it's really just never
Let's jump to
over
camera.
until the last bit.
Let's jump to camera 2 for a sec. You can see Rylan Shadegg coming through right now. Shadegg hanging on for what looks like a 4th place finish. That's a pretty impressive showing in his first OCR World Championships event. Strong the whole way because Atkins is on the ground right in front of him.
And this is Sean Roberts.
Sean Roberts right behind him.
In 5th. Which
That's
is
a
about
deep
where he
race
placed
right
last
there.
year.
So to recap, it looks like we had VJ Jones with the win, Ryan Kempson in 2nd, Ryan Atkins in 3rd, Rylan Shadegg in 4th, and Sean Roberts rounding out your top 5.
We have Ida looking strong,
But I
but
also
right
see-
here, you see she's already getting caught by Annie, Rose. Chris is actually power hiking in the back there, which shows just how steep this climb is.
It's very steep. And, you know, you're looking
And
at
then
the
we
mountain
don't know where
girl up
Lindsay
there,
is.
biding
Moving
her
into
time,
first
maybe
place,
racing at a
Annie.
wave too.
Did
Rose
she?
Wetzel
No,
looking
she
so
started in the
smooth.
first heat, right?
Yeah, for sure. Rose Wetzel's climbing has just improved night and day in the last 2 years. And there, look out! You can see how steep
Yeah,
that
as
shot
far
is.
as
She
I
has to
know,
switch a bit
she
to that
thinks
power
she's in the
hike.
shape of her life. Rose feels like she is on top of her running game, her obstacle game, and she was very much looking forward to this race.
I don't disagree with her in that assessment either. She really has looked like the Rose of old in the last few races that we've seen her in. You know, it took her a few years to overcome having a baby and needing to both get back into shape and then also just change the way she's trained. And she has been running unbelievably
She went
the
through
last
some coaches.
year or so.
Yeah, I think she jumped around coaches for a little bit and until settling on her coach now, David Roach, who has taken her through the last year or 2 of racing. One thing I will note is that Annie moved to Colorado a couple months ago, and so she's been training at a higher elevation. And recently she took on a Strava segment in Boulder that is a pretty popular route up Mount Sanitas, and she got the fastest time on it. So I think it shows that her climbing has been very solid lately. Her uphill running fitness is really the best it's ever been.
Well, I mean, look, where is she up ahead? She has put quite a gap on everybody with that climbing. I mean, she really is, of all of her skills, that is her best one, being able to just go uphill, grind up the side of the mountain.
And here she is. Lindsay has finally caught up, and I'm sure we'll be up with Annie in no time.
Yeah, you know, that's another person who loves to run uphill. And Lindsay, do you think that this is definitely, I would assume that this is something to do with experience, that she is sitting back this far and allowing Annie to be up in front, maybe burning herself out a little bit?
I think that Lindsay probably got caught up on Stairway. And I'm guessing because I saw Chris, who was with Ida at the start, she took a little longer getting through that obstacle. And I don't think Annie had any intention of going out with the leaders. I think she actually wanted to sit back and run with Lindsay. So my guess is that Lindsay actually got a little held up on obstacles. But as the
And I'll
champion
tell you,
that she
Rose
is,
Wetzel
I
is
don't think she's going to let it get into her head at all.
No, I don't think so either, but I'm looking at Rose Wetzel trying to just battle her back off. And it's a really impressive showing so far. I think what we're seeing in that picture-in-picture, maybe we have a delay on one of our cameras, because I see Lindsay Webster having just completed an obstacle.
Oh.
So
camera one?
it is possible with the technology that we are using, there is a little bit of camera delay sometimes. So if we jump to camera one, instead of an ascent right now, I think we're looking at a descent. Okay. We're going to stay where we are, and we can catch the rest of it later. We'll put it all together.
Do we have a shot of them on the gaff then at the top of the climb?
I think we're going to find out. And if you're wondering, like, how is this possible? What happens is we're getting everything recorded, but then sometimes it is not transmitting to our station in time, and so we're getting it all on slightly different timelines sometimes. So what we're looking at right now, and we saw this with the men's race as well, we're looking at a women's race that's just hitting the top of the mountain, but we also do have footage of them on some different stations. Again, I think camera one, if we were to look over there, you'll see
We have an Annie, Lindsay, Ida battle at Twist on Life, which is at pretty much at the top
interesting
of the mountain.
hoist. And Lindsay Webster has departed in first position by a significant margin, to be honest.
Yeah, I think she has about 10 to 20 seconds on Annie. And then Ida seems to be
And where
struggling
is
a
Rose
bit more
Wetzel?
on this hoist.
Rose Wetzel may actually be the one who's in the lead right now. Which wouldn't surprise me given the strength required for that obstacle. Rose is a very powerful athlete.
They had the gaff at the top of the mountain, and we don't know what happened there, but that's an obstacle that, as we saw on the men's side, it can be frustratingly tricky to get through it quickly.
Yeah, if we go to camera 4, here we go. You get a little view of Lagaff. Lindsay Webster just
So we
getting
see
started.
Lindsay starting over. I think Lindsay actually started it and had to restart. Just having
Yes,
trouble
it looks that
getting
way.
it to go far enough back.
Oh, and here's Rose Wetzel. And Annie Doobie as well.
Good job, ladies. Good job.
And again, these are obstacles that some of these athletes have just never completed before. They've never attempted before. And Rose is...
So
you
we
can
have
see her
Lindsay and Annie
confidence
through
on it, isn't
Lagaff.
right there.
Good job, Rose. Good job.
It's something that it's one that takes a surprising amount of time and intention to really place your feet properly, not fall too far down, because you are pretty close to the ground there. So a small slip could result in having to start over.
Yeah.
And you see Chris Rogloski making a move right now past Rose Wetzel.
So I think camera 1 shows that the athletes are actually
I don't know if I can.
on their way down to
Descending.
the festival area. I'm pretty close to Valkyrie. It would be great to get a shot of Valkyrie if possible.
If we have it. Yeah.
Nice job.
So it looks like Rose lost a little bit of time there on the gaff.
All right, now what you're seeing is a big descent. And I would say one of the fan favorites right now. I mean, Lindsay Webster is always a fan favorite, but Chris Rigloski as well, who, by the way, just completed a series of 4 100-milers this year.
It's called the Grand Slam, and the Grand Slam consists of 4 out of 5 of the oldest 100-mile races in the country, which is very impressive.
It's incredible.
I think she became the youngest person actually to ever complete the Grand Slam.
And you have to do
which
it
doesn't
in
surprise
1 year.
me. The ultra scene is very much kind of an older athlete's game, I would say.
And what I continue
She's kind of
to
doing
say
things in
about-
reverse.
Very much in reverse. The thing I continue to be impressed with Chris Rigloski is not just her ability to do these things, but her ability to recover.
Camera 1, totally. Camera, yeah, there we go.
There we go.
Annie is at Valkyrie. We don't know if Lindsay's already been through this. I would imagine that Lindsay made it down first, given her descending ability.
Yes, and given who's in third
Annie.
right now.
So Annie just made a mistake and has to restart. It looks like she's taking her gloves off. Maybe she had her gloves get caught. And here's Ida,
This is
who
Ida's
makes it through no problem. So Annie's
And
going
Annie
again.
is a tremendous
She's
athlete,
laughing.
but this is going to be a tough challenge for her to hold off Ida with all of these grip-intensive obstacles coming up.
I think she has the strength. The question is, does she have the ability to learn on the fly? And that is something that it's just really hard to say until we see it happen. I don't know who this athlete is.
This is
one of the
athlete.
men's athletes. Yeah.
And
So here
yeah,
on
again, now we're looking at
the rec bag.
carry. A whole carry length ahead. That's what Lindsay Webster
fit
has in terms of
fighter.
the lead right now.
So Lindsay is in first. And here she is.
Here's a shot of
going
her.
into drop zone. Just something that she's never seen before.
And so she went for the high grip each time. And so you're right. There is a taxing element of how many pull-ups do I have to do to get through this obstacle?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's definitely as obstacle solid she is. She's not the most dynamic on obstacles, and so you see her to pull up completely, lock off, reach for the next bar, and it's very methodical, but it's a little bit slower than I think we'll see Ida do right here. So
This
Ida
could
has
get
more of a
really
swing
bad
going
for Lindsay
on.
now. Oh, that was close. That was the little leap to ring that bell. That was critical for Lindsay because if she had to reach for that next rung.
So see how much faster Ida is through this obstacle? She's going from the second bar in and swings out to the next rung.
Absolutely. She's now
here
put
we
herself
have
in a position
Annie
to
and
steal this
Chris.
race. And these two, again, big engines, but do they have the dexterity? Looks like Chris is making quick work of this.
Chris looks like she's solid and gets through it.
Wow. Annie's going to take a leap.
Maybe going for the lache. Nope.
Oh, no,
she
she
goes up
just
for the second bar.
She just used that leg kick to give herself a chance.
Yeah.
She nailed it,
And
though.
goes
She
for the
nailed
lache
it.
at
So,
the end.
yeah.
So still a lot of obstacles, still some running to be had. So I would say that this is not a solidified race, at least as far as second through fourth goes.
And what are we looking at here right now?
They're running. Here comes the...
Oh.
So I think they've already been through
My phone's dead.
Triumph and Littlefoot. We're looking at Urban Sky right now.
If we go to camera 4, I have Lindsay Webster. Oh, camera 4.
Camera 2. I'm sorry. No, camera 4 is older. Sorry. 2 is on
old.
Triumph. Yeah, and I think that's where we are right now. Triumph, which is previously known as Dragon's Back. I think we'll see Lindsay come into Urban Sky very soon. With Chris Roglowski in second place right now. No, sorry, Ida in second.
Third.
Chris is in third. Annie's in fourth. We don't know exactly where Rose
Ida
is.
may be making a move for the win, actually. Here we have Lindsay Webster. Looking much more comfortable on this obstacle.
Oh, she missed
She
the
just
bell.
failed
So she has to restart. And Ida's on it right now. So
Ida's right there. Ida's now
Or sorry.
Well, no,
No,
that's Chris Roglowski.
that's Chris Roglowski.
Ida may be ahead of both of them. It was
All
a
right,
really
so
costly
Lindsay
whiff from
had
Lindsay
to
Webster.
restart it. Yeah.
And you've given Chris Roglowski life, and this is not the battle that Lindsay Webster wanted to have right now.
It's not, but we've seen Lindsay come back in so many races very late into the game. And I would not be surprised if she passes Chris and then wherever Ida is as well, if she's able to catch her.
But as I've always said, you know, the one thing that you want to do is give yourself a chance to win with a half mile left in this race. And, you know, at this point, the running differential is going to matter very little. It's going to just be about who can be smooth on these obstacles. You know, a second here or there in the running isn't going to be that big a factor. And now these two are in a dogfight. Lindsay Webster, Chris Roglowski battling for podium spots right now, making their way through the village.
Do we have any idea where Ida is?
I have not seen Ida in a little bit. And the big question is this 1-2 or is this 2-3?
So I think Ida is on Urban Sky
now we have a shot of Ida.
And Lindsay must be right behind her. Oh yeah, they're all three
Just behind,
pretty much
okay.
together on this obstacle. We're going to have three women on this obstacle all together.
Ida's out first.
This is very close.
Webster's about 8 seconds behind her.
So the question is, will anybody falter
That was Urban
on
Sky.
Ricochet?
Now they're both on Ricochet at the same time. And sometimes it's hard to tell who's further ahead on an obstacle like this because it's weaving all over the place. But we had a
I do think that Lindsay's a little bit, yeah, I think she's a little
Further
more
back.
taxed than Ida, just from the looks of it.
Ida's through. Ida's looking like
But
I'm
it
going
looks
to win
like
a title
Chris
right
is
now.
also,
Moving well.
and she is almost done here.
Ooh. Webster's made it to the bell, but it's only a few seconds ahead of Roglowski. Maybe 8 or 10 seconds. Oh,
She has a little bit of an
Her grip is
uncontrolled
so
swing
strong.
going on here.
yep.
There
here
we go. Had a little struggle.
I don't know if there's enough room left for Webster to overtake her, but it looks like we're going to
I
have
don't
Ida
think
as
so.
your champion today. Ida with your
This is
title
a
right
huge
now,
upset.
winning the
This is
whole
something
thing.
that, you know, Ida's been in the sport of obstacle racing for a number of years now, and this is something that's been a long time coming. She's been a student of the sport. She's worked very hard on her weaknesses, and I think it's really paid off today.
So you have Ida taking the title in first place right now. Ida Matilda Stensgaard in first place, followed by Lindsay Webster, followed by Chris Roglowski. There's your 1, 2, 3 here at the OCR World Championships. And again, the resume that Chris Roglowski has put together on this season is really incredible.
It's quite impressive to go from 100-mile races to an obstacle 3K. I think it shows that
Yeah, and a
her
High Rocks
aerobic
championship
fitness-
in the middle.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. So one athlete we expected to see in the top, if we never did, was Ulrika. And I wonder if she had some trouble with an obstacle early on. Looks like Annie's just finishing on camera 8 in possibly 4th place. Could we get on the finish line camera and maybe see
Camera
some more of the
4
women
right
come
now.
in?
If we take a jump to camera 4, here are your podium finishers. So again, Ida Matilda Stensgaard, Lindsay Webster, and Chris Rogloski, your top 3 women in the day, followed by Annie Doobie, a 4th place finish in the 3K. Unofficially.
I see Ulrika on drop zone. I think she definitely struggled on some obstacles.
Not used to seeing the two of them, Atkins and Webster, not on the top of the podium, but it's still an impressive performance from both of them today. I would say slightly out of the wheelhouse for both of them.
The 3K?
Yes.
I would agree. I would
Just a
say
little
that
short for the two of them.
That's probably the closest 3K on the women's side that we've seen in a while.
Oh, it was a great battle.
Last
Last
year, I think Lindsay
gonna
had
be
like
great.
a 30-second lead. Yeah.
It's going to be great to see you out there next year.
I will be super excited to be back.
Yeah,
It's my favorite race.
This is the perfect event for you, but also you've been waiting a long time. So we are. I think the world is feeling a little robbed that we didn't get to see you and to see you and Lindsay battle this year. As I saw Rose Wetzel sliding right there, kicking in. We're gonna throw up some results on the screen here. Let's take a look at the men's results right now. The pro men's 3K, and look at the spread again. Last year it was about 25 or 30 seconds, 17-second gap between VJ Jones and Ryan Kempson, followed by Atkins. So I got my 1, 2, 3 right in order. Ryan Atkins 46 seconds back, and then look at that, how tight it was. Shadeg, Roberts, Dahir, all within 20 seconds of each other. So definitely a 6-man race. And I think we got all
And
our
we
names
see
just
Samuel
about right on
Hebert.
that.
So Samuel was the one that
He
we saw
squeezed-
in the second heat, and he snuck into top 10.
He squeaked in there. I think Ryan Brizolara also may have been a second heat racer. So very impressive. But your top 6, 7 guys, 7 all came out of that first heat. So 2 Americans on top, Canadian and 2 more Americans. So the North Americans definitely dominated the men's field. The women's results have not come up yet. We'll share those with you shortly. As we pull this results back down for just a split second to take a look at Ricochet. And what a unique obstacle. So you have a zigzagging pattern with your rings, and you've got to kick off that plate on the wall in order to give yourself the momentum to get to that next rung.
Amy Pajic, Miranda, and I don't know who the other athlete was on the far. I think it's pretty cruel to put this one at the very end because it's one that you can really get turned around on, and it's hard with a high heart rate, fatigued forearms, you know, really like totally race brain going on. It's hard to really execute this properly.
Absolutely. All right, so we're waiting on the women's results, but we're not sure we're going to get them just in time. So what we're going to do is share those with you during the race recap show this evening that you can find on the OCR report. In the meantime, thank you all for joining us for OCR World Championships, brought to you by the OCR Report. I'm David Magida, along with Nicole Mericle, the champ, the expert. Thanks so much for taking us on this journey through this today, Nicole. Congratulations to VJ Jones and to Ida Stensgaard on your new World Championship titles in the 3K, and we will catch you guys for the post-race show after this, as well as tomorrow for the 15K. We'll see you then.
Awesome.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.